Well, hello and welcome everyone. We had a note that we'd be doing sound checks at about 10 minutes before, and we were just doing our final prep and neglected to do that. So I wanted to make sure to check in. We do still have a minute or so before we'll get started. So we'll be right with you. And you should at this point be able to hear me and also see the opening slide. Thanks, Doug. You're the best. I love that you're here supporting the process. Thank you. Thanks, Vicki. Thanks, Anne. Thanks, Jason. Yes, virtual technology is awesome, all the way from the UK. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Again, this is Laura Brandenburg from Bridging the Gap, and I'm so grateful to be here with you today. Marcy has also joined us, and Marcy's going to help me manage the webinar today. Thank you, Marcy. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, many of you have probably heard from Marcy via email. She handles so much for us and keeps everything moving along amazingly. So I'm just grateful to have this opportunity to answer your questions about the Business Analyst Blueprint and talk a little bit more about this program. So we had over 200 people who registered to join us for today's webinar, and I lost track of where we were. It looks like about 40, 50 people that have joined us live so far. So I'm really excited. I'm anticipating a lot of questions, and let's dive in. Before we get to the overview of the program, though, and answering your questions, I want to go through just a few admin items and then set the stage by talking about the business analyst role, and in particular, how you get started as a business analyst, just so we're all looking at the program through that lens. So these admin items, the best way to ask your questions will be through the Q&A chat box. So I will be reading those questions to answer them today. And since we are getting ready to start the Business Analyst Blueprint next Wednesday and Tuesday, which is like 5 days from now, is the last day to register, our focus is going to be answering on questions about the program and any career-related questions that would confirm or disconfirm if that program is a good fit for you. Okay, we're only running this one interactive session of the course this year, and so I really just want to hold the space to focus on supporting those who have an interest, but like just want to make sure it's the right decision for them. We do lots of give backs throughout the year and lots of free content, and I think I even did a coaching call in December, so we'll be doing more of that this year as well. But today is really just not the time for that. And the second admin item is that throughout the call, I will be raffling off free copies of my book, How to Start a Business Analyst Career. And what I'm going to do is ask some trivia questions about my career in Bridging the Gap, and the first person to get that correct answer into the chat box will win the book. So stay tuned for those. Those questions will be coming. Okay, so let's talk about what is a business analyst. This is the Business Analyst Manifesto. That's our Business Analyst Manifesto at Bridging the Gap. And let's just kind of speak through it for a moment. So out of chaos, we create order. Out of disagreement, we create alignment. Out of ambiguity, we create clarity. But most of all, we create positive change for the organizations we serve. So in more practical terms, what this means is that the business analyst navigates the communication to discover what the business wants and needs and drives forward the requirements of that solution. And often there's a significant software component to that solution, but software alone is never the only creator of positive change in organizations. And we're going to talk more about that in a bit. Why do people become business analysts? Usually there's something about this that inspires you and fuels you. And for those with a tech background, it's often like being able to go beyond the technical sphere to truly partner with the business and see the bigger picture of your work. And often business analysts can be a bit of a way out of the rat race of feeling like you have to keep up with all the latest tech updates too. Because the business analyst skills are just more timeless and long lasting. They have a lot of longevity, where your tech skills you have to kind of renew year to year because things change so fast. For those with a business background, it's often like solving the problems that you experience with every day, the frustrating stuff about your job, actually being able to find solutions and oversee solutions to those problems. And also, quite honestly, a lot of times I see, people in routine business roles just wanting to get out of work that feels a little bit boring or soul sucking because it's the same the day in and day out. And business analysis brings so much change and so much creativity. It's a much more creative, big picture role. And, so people feel called to that if they want to do something bigger and better with their career. And the opportunities for people in these roles for business analysts are tremendous. So organizations need this kind of from the ground up leadership, and projections show that there are going to be hundreds of thousands of new business analyst job openings in the coming years. Demand for the skills is going up and salaries are increasing. So I have the salary number here. This is from the 2017 IIBA salary, and it is for BAs in the US. It was $94,881. And that's the average salary in the United States. And it's difficult to determine the worldwide average because of currency fluctuations and cost of living variations. And the number that came from the survey for a worldwide average was somewhere around 85,000 a year. And then there were specifics for different geographical areas. So if you are an IIBA member, you have access to that report and you can get the specific details to your local area. But the salary, often for a lot of people, this is a big jump, right? I know when I moved into business analysis, I received about a 40% increase in salary. And the other thing the salary report showed is that that experience is pretty common. Newer business analysts entering the profession, often who have quite a bit of career experience, just have never been quote unquote BAs, will see similar bumps in their salary as well. Okay, so what exactly do business analysts do? That brings us to the Business Analyst Blueprint. And I'm going to share a few more details about the program in a few minutes to start answering the questions we've been receiving about it and help you say, like, is this a good fit for me or not? But first, I just wanted to share the concept with you and why it's so important to us as business analysts. So this is the visual model of the Business Analyst Blueprint, and Marcy actually did the image, but I created the concept based on my years of experience helping BAs get started and looking at what core skills people actually need to have in their toolbox to get recognized as the business analyst and to succeed in discovering and analyzing the requirements as a business analyst. Now, the blueprint provides a visual overview of the 12 different business analyst skills. And as I'm looking at this, total disclosure, I took an old version of the blueprint, because if you're watching, you'll see this actually has 10 skills, or if you're counting. So we made some modifications between last year and this year. So the new one has 12 skills, and I'll let you figure out the ones that I'm missing as we go through and the ones the visual is missing, but there are 12. And if you go to our website, that new model is plastered all over the place. I just don't want to take time to update the slides right now. So let's talk about these levels though, and the different perspectives of the requirements, because that's what's so important. So the business level, this is the level where we look at what the business does. What is the business process? How does the business operate today? How can we improve it? And by analyzing at this level, we can often discover the real business problem and do the critical work of aligning different stakeholder groups about what that business process is and should be. It's not always self-evident. And this level is not about the software. And so you will use these skills and this set of skills as part of any type of organizational change, okay? And you can do this even if you're not going to be making any updates to the software. You can do this business level of business analysis. The next is the software level. And this is the level that we look at what a software does to support the business process, or what the functional requirements or features are. We model here in use cases, which give the step-by-step details of what the system needs to do, and wireframes that show what it looks like. Now, one of the questions that we get is whether you need to be technical to do this. Like, do I need to know how to create the software or write code? And this level of analysis, I just want to be really clear on this. This is not about understanding how the system will be built. We leave that to the tech experts. Okay? This is about understanding what the system will do. And even if we're not techie, we still need to be able to get really, really clear on this. And this is where a lot of people with more of a business background get challenged, because you've got to be really crystal clear about what the system must do. Okay, next is information level. And this is what the level we look at how our organization stores and manages data to support the software functionality and the business processes. For example, to register for this webinar, we needed you to give us your email address so that we could send you your unique logon link. And if we were managing or looking at the information level requirements for GoToWebinar, we'd be looking at what fields, what data points do we need for a new webinar registrant? What data points do we need when we create a new event or a webinar in the system? There's actually, I think, probably dozens of them because there's a lot of pieces that go into creating that event that then enable you to register. And that is something that we could do in these techniques of an entity relationship diagram and a data dictionary and a glossary. Okay. So business analysis happens at all of these levels, and each of these levels includes both analysis, or those deliverables that you create to analyze the requirements, and communication. And that's the techniques you use to engage your stakeholders in the requirements process. So this is really, really important, this distinction between analysis and communication, because business analysis never happens in a vacuum. BAs are facilitators of organizational change, and so you are going to involve business and technology stakeholders in every step of this process. You don't just sit down at your computer and write a use case. I mean, you do, but first you go through a discovery session and figure out what people want, and then you write it, and then you come up with a bunch of questions, and then you go through review and validation processes, sometimes multiple times. So as a business analyst, you're the leader in terms of organizing the information, discovering, validating, confirming, and clarifying that information to ensure those stakeholder perspectives are represented. But you don't just need to know the information. The analysis techniques help you find the right questions to ask, and the communication techniques help you get those answers. Okay, so these views give you the different perspectives from which to look at the requirements and allow you to get that complete picture of a solution without the overwhelm. And this is also really important because a lot of newer or more junior BAs, you might start in a role and they have a really almost, I want to say blinder focus on one level. And often it's that software level, right? I know all the things the system needs to do. But then we kind of miss the business process and we escape past a few critical fields. And all of a sudden our projects are in chaos and we're farther down the path and missing requirements. And we feel like we missed something. And why did we miss something? Because we were blinded and only looking at one perspective. Okay, you really need all three perspectives to get a complete view of the requirements. And part of the reason this is important is because this is a stat from the 2016 a study done by the Project Management Institute that up to 37% of project failures are the direct result of poor requirements gathering. And almost all of the other issues had requirements as a secondary contributing factor. So when we're only looking at one view, and we can do a great job at that one view, but if we're ignoring those other perspectives or not, this is, I think, a lot of times the key one, not getting the right stakeholders involved through communication. Our requirements models might be perfect, but we're not getting the right people to give us the right information for those requirements. We just miss them. It's really as simple as that. There's not magic or brain science. It's not brain surgery, but it is a process that you have to go through, right? And you do need to learn to look at things from multiple views. So just one more thing, because I know a lot of people are looking to make the case to your employer about why this kind of training might be so important and why they might actually want to invest in it. So one of the tidbits here is if you see these stats about the project failures is to turn this to an advantage, because if you would imagine a defect found way at the end of the project, right? It is so much less expensive to find a missed requirement in the requirements process instead of find that missed requirement at the end. And so the corollary of that is that very, very small changes and improvements to your requirements process can pay for themselves really, really quickly and have a significant input or a significant impact on the bottom line and the ROI from your project. So those little changes can go a long, long way. Okay, so I've been talking for a while, so I want to stop and do our first raffle. So again, I'm going to put the question up in a second. The rules of the raffle are that the first correct answer in the chat box will win a print copy of How to Start a Business Analyst Career. Okay, so what role was I in before I started my career as a business analyst? Oh, lots of good answers. Okay, we got Kavita, got the first one. Kavita said QA, quality assurance. And there's a couple others. I'm going to read them. So Anne said associate editor. Anne, you know me really, really well. I was actually an associate editor before I was in quality assurance. So great guess. Stacy said project manager. Ooh, that one almost gives me chills. I have never been a project manager. I've had project management responsibilities and I actually managed a team of project managers, but I've never been a project manager, but a lot of project managers are. I love that. So thank you. And then CS, I'm not sure what that is, Hilda, but interesting one. So Kavita, and Marcy, can you share what Kavita needs to do to make sure we can get her book?
Sure, yeah. Do you want me to say
that
out? Okay, perfect. We just need your full name and mailing address, and you can send that to me in the chat box or send us an email, either way.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so the other thing, I on that topic of like, what did you do before you were a BA? I often will get asked about like, what is the best background for a business analyst career? And quite honestly, we see BAs come from all kinds of backgrounds, and about half from the business, about half from tech. So it's not like tech background is better or business background is better. So that's fine. So it's really like it's a blend of roles. There's just dozens of roles that set you up for success as a business analyst. What's more, about any professional role provides you with the opportunity to do some of the work of a business analyst, and when and how to look for it. And one point I want to just highlight about my QA role is when I was applying for my CBAP, I was able to categorize about 10% of my QA role directly as business analysis experience. So often, our titles don't tell the full story of our capabilities and our experience and our skills. Something to keep in mind there. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the program. And so we understand, like we've talked about the business analyst skills, kind of how this all fits together, what we're going to be covered. I want to cover like the nuts and bolts of the program and then take your questions about that. So this would be a good time to be thinking if you have questions, or if I'm asked, or as I'm going through the details, if something comes up, feel free to get that into the Q&A chat box or just the chat box. And then I'll go through what I want to make sure to cover, and then I'll look in the chat box for questions. Okay, so the blueprint is, again, this is the only live interactive session we intend to run for this program this year. And we get started on January 31st. That's next Wednesday. This is also the only way to work with me personally as you expand your business analysis experience and gain confidence in your skills. We've been getting questions about, mentoring and coaching and other ways. Like this is the way I show up in the community. We do have people, if you do really want a one-on-one, we have coaches that we can refer you out to. But for me personally, this is the way to work with me personally. It's also worth 36 PDs, CDUs, PDUs, contact hours. And so it supports your certification and recertification needs for the ECBA, CCBA, CBAP from either IIBA. Sorry, this is a lot of alphabet soup. And I had bet to put a slide together that showed all of this, and I just ran out of time before we got here. So I can say this again if you have questions about it. Those credits are also valid for your PMP or the PMI PBA. So again, for recertification or certification against either of those. And that's because we are a registered education provider with PMI and an endorsed education provider with IIBA. Okay. So how does the program actually work? So we have a very unique model, and it's really valuable, but it's often misunderstood because I don't think anyone else in the marketplace is doing something like this. It's also extremely flexible. So if you have doubts about like having the time or space to make this happen, I want to alleviate those doubts as well. So when you join, there are 3 modules, one for each area of the blueprint. So the business level, the software level, and the information level that we talked about. And you will get new content each week in that module. So usually it's 1 or 2 lessons a week. And those lessons are available to you in video. We give you audio downloads, full text transcripts. Each set of lessons has supporting materials. So depending on the lesson, it might be a template, it might be a swipe file. We include as many work samples as we can. There's checklists, kind of just like tools that you can use in your work. So whatever you need to apply that skill efficiently and effectively in your work as a business analyst, we've tried to build into the lessons. And then exercises, so a next step. So when we say analyze the business process, you receive our business process template and then an opportunity to actually go use it and analyze a business process, right? So 1 or 2 pieces at a time. So you're learning how to do it, and then you're being called to take action and actually do it. And so that we try to do this in 1 piece at a time so that there isn't a lot of overwhelm, and plan to spend a couple of hours a week, usually 2 or 3 hours, to keep up with the pace of the program. And again, part of that's going to be learning and part of that's going to be applying. And now those materials are available to you around the clock. So that 2 to 3 hours can be whenever it works for you. Some participants use their lunch breaks to go through the materials, like a little bit at a time. Others set aside a few hours every weekend. Others use their evenings or actual work time to go through the course. So whatever is best for you and works for you works for us, right? There's no constraints on that. So what's more, and this is where I think it's really, really, this is what sets us apart, honestly, is that as you do that over the space of the 3-4 months of the program, you have the support from myself and my instructor team throughout the course and even beyond. I'll personally be facilitating the course kickoff call on January 31st, and I'll be on all the live webinar Q&As. And that's an opportunity to jump in and ask your questions, doubts that you have, things that are coming up, and get our perspective on that. And if you want to email in our question, if something is coming up that you don't want to wait till the next Q&A call, that's where our instructors are available to you, and they answer them as they come in. So you can get usually a pretty quick answer to a question that way. Now, part of going through the course is also actually working through each technique. And because we find that this is kind of action is what actually creates real confidence, right? So it's one thing to learn about, oh yeah, this is how I would create a business process, or this is how I would create a workflow diagram. And it's another to actually do it. And that's when the questions come up. And that's why we have this email support. But when you've done that, then you get to submit your workbook. So with each module, you submit one workbook that has just your examples, your work examples from that course material. And then you get feedback from our instructors on your work. And this is what we often hear is like one of the most valuable parts of the course, because it's that confidence of like, yeah, this is awesome. And here are some things that I would improve or look at further. Or just like even, here are the ways that I would improve this. And, sometimes that can be an iterative process, and that helps you ensure that you really know how to apply the course materials. Okay, so there are no exams to study for. We don't do pop quizzes. We're all about taking the training and making it immediately practical in your day-to-day work. So this is, again, the successful completion of the course is worth the 36 credits or contact hours. And when you submit all 3 of those workbooks, and our instructors, while they're giving you feedback, they're also confirming that they meet the requirements of the course so that we can issue you a certificate of completion at the end. Again, endorsed both by IIBA and PMI. So when you complete the course, the credits are guaranteed for those organizations. Okay. Let's see if I missed anything, just checking my notes here. One note on that, you will receive, again, 2 to 3 hours should enable you to keep pace with the course. The other thing we do is if something comes up and you fall behind, there's extra time built at the end to allow you to catch up. So you'll receive your last lesson from us on April 23rd, and you have through June 9th, 2018 to submit all of your workbooks. There's a big buffer in there in case life happens. So one of the questions we get on this, and then I'll look at the, is what if I'm not a BA? How can I do this, right? I don't have a business analyst role. How can I possibly apply these techniques? And that's actually where the real power is. So we've had lots and lots of people who have started our programs who do not have business analyst roles currently. And each module comes with a list of ideas of how to apply those specific techniques in that module outside of a formal business analyst role. And then in the course kickoff, I'll be walking you through this brainstorming process so that we're sure that you leave with an example that you can use for a business process, since that's where we start. And what's where I just want to highlight, this is where the real shifts happen. We've seen so many people gain more confidence in their BA skills and add more experience to their resume or CV right away. Okay, so I know if you haven't checked the sales page yet, often one of the questions is, well, what's the price, right? So the investment in the Business Analyst Blueprint is $1,997. And there's also a payment plan with 4 payments of $597. Okay, so those are the details I have to share. I see a couple questions coming in. I just want to share Adam's story, and this would be a good time if you still have any questions about logistics or what the program includes or how you can make the most use of it. Please go ahead and get that in, and I'll make sure to answer them. But I wanted to share Adam's story. So this literally popped up on my LinkedIn last night via a comment that Adam made. And Adam has invested separately in all of our courses. He hasn't done the blueprint. He's done all the pieces that we have now combined together in one offer in the blueprint. And he's done it individually and for credit, right? And when he started with us, he was in customer service. And he recently took on his first business analyst position in a new company. So Adam wrote, the content here is a game changer for your business analyst career. If you use the current position to do projects following along or for credit, then that means 3 new projects on your resume or more, which is worth 5 times or more of what the course will cost next year. So he's alluding, we are raising the price next year. The investment is going up to $2,997. So you also have a chance to save $1,000 when you join this year's session. Okay, so but Adam goes on, don't believe me, watch this. For me, getting a business analyst position meant an extra $14,000 per year, and having a position that I was passionate about, I would say was worth about 2 hours a day in less frustration, multiplied by what I was making per hour at $2,000 per year. I'm not kidding about the 2 hours. That lack of challenge in my current position was killing me and killed my passion for doing things after work. Sorry, I get a little, it's just, yeah. I was able to do a project that was a big contributor to a $4,000 raise, and that is a total of $20,000 over 2 years, so roughly an extra $10,000 per year. Assume average career lasts only 5 years and lowballing gains to $5,000 per year. That is a total of $25,000. Laura says she's passionate about the course and wants everyone to help everyone possible. It is for good reason. All right, so I had never thought about it quite this way before, especially the cost of the frustration. And so I just have like deep gratitude for Adam for posting this, and I got his permission to share this with all of you today. And just the math, because the money, I know it can seem like a big investment, but I know that if you're in the right space for it, it will pay off for you. Okay. And I just want to highlight again that Adam was not even yet in a business analyst role when he started this journey with us. So those gains that he's talking about, they happened from him taking action in his customer service role. Okay. And that's just it's a game changer in terms of that fulfillment you get in your work right away, and also that additional salary and the additional opportunity to move more into a business analyst role. Okay, so I'd love to take your questions now.
Laura, there have been a couple questions in the question box. People want to know about certification, if they're really important, or
Mm.
which one you recommend. And then there was also another question about the webinar dates and times, if they're all going to be at the same time.
Okay, great. So certifications, yeah, let's talk about certifications. So there are so many options, and different companies are valuing different certifications in different ways. So I used to not be a huge proponent of certifications. Like, we have the credits for our courses because people really wanted that, and they wanted that sort of external validation in the quality of the courses. But as I've talked to more and more business analysts, like managers and directors and overseers of teams recently. And the message that I'm hearing is that they're looking at certifications, especially the three levels that IIBA provides between the ECBA, CCBA, and CBAP. It's increasing experience around that as a way to create a career path within their organization. So almost like linking the certification to a certain level of business analysis, and not making it just based on like industry expertise or years of experience in that role, but actually that certification. I don't think that trend is going to diminish. That being said, like, you have to look at what's popping up in your job market, what's popping up in your employer. What are the people around you going to, or who have the ability to support you in your career? How are they going to perceive that certification, and how can that impact what choice that you might make? And it's never a guarantee. It's always in terms of a hiring process. It might get you in the door for an interview as opposed to being skimmed over, but you still have to show up and be able to talk about your skills in an interview. So it's not a silver bullet, and you can succeed without them for sure. But a lot of people experience a lot of wins through that. Okay, and I just think we're going to continue to see it expand. And then the second question was about the webinars. So we are happy to share individually the schedule if you really want to make sure. But what we've done this time is we're varying the day and the timing of the webinars to make, because historically in the past, I've just done them all like at the same time on the same day, and then somebody will join and be like, I have a standing meeting that day and I can't make any of them, right? And so what we're doing is we're adjusting the days and the times to suit multiple work schedules and also multiple time zones. So a couple of them will be in the evening Eastern time, which tends to be a more palatable time for Australia, not the middle of the night, not 3 a.m. It's still relatively early, but it's more, it's doable. And we'll have a couple in the kind of mid-morning and afternoon Eastern time as well. So they're all over the place with purpose of enabling as many people to join as possible across the scope of all the Q&A sessions. The other thing about the Q&A is, one, they're optional. You don't have to show up for the Q&A to complete the course. Your workbooks is what allows you to complete the course, and they will be recorded, and replays will always be made available. Just like we're making the replay of this available, I'm sure that question has come in too. And you have the opportunity to submit a question in advance. So if you have a really like a dire need around a question, like, you can submit that ahead of time, and then we'll answer it in the webinar, and then you can get the replay. Okay, so we just try to make everything, our motto is, how can we make this as flexible as possible so that it will work for as many people as possible, while still holding the standards of giving you a valuable process. Okay, so I'm gonna look through the questions here. Shruti asked, would all the be delivered in a month? I'm assuming that's course content. The course content is delivered over 3 months. So you'll receive, like, there's a specific schedule, but in general, the business process starts January 31st, goes through January. The use cases and wireframes, which is that software level, starts at the very end of February, goes through March. And then the data modeling, which is that information level, is in April. And then April 23rd, you receive the last lesson. And we have our last Q&A call after that. And then you have another month and a half to finish all your workbooks and get those in. Okay. Let's see. Are the live webinar held? Okay, that's one I just answered. Thank you, Anne. Great question. when will you distribute us our books? So Swap Nali, I'm so glad you raised that question because we're going to do another giveaway. So not everybody's getting the book, but we're going to do another raffle, and then I'll go, and that'll give me a chance to read a couple of the questions and come back with some answers. So next question, and Marcy, if you can keep tabs so I don't have to scroll down here on who comes in first, is what was my first job title while filling the role of a business analyst?
I think we have a winner.
All right.
Looks like Maria.
Congratulations, Maria.
Yeah, Maria said systems analyst, which is the correct answer.
All right. And what were some of the other answers we got?
We got quality assurance, associate, a lot of QA.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, maybe this question wasn't clear. That's always a good thing to to
Right,
know.
right.
Yeah. Some of my best, like this is totally a side note, but some of my best requirements questions have actually been questions that a business stakeholder misunderstood. So, you know, keep that in mind when you're like, oh, they didn't get my question, but like sometimes you get the best information that way. It was just destined to be headed to you. So yeah, my title, I've actually never officially had the title of business analyst. So my first title when filling the role of a business analyst was systems analyst. And other titles I've had were manager of business analysis. I really fought hard for that B part of the title though. Director of enterprise solutions, requirements analyst. In some cases, I was simply like the contractor. You know, it really didn't matter. I was doing BA work. And so there's a lot of titles that encompass the type of work that we're doing here. Okay, so I want to talk to two big questions that I saw when I was looking through the chat box there. So one question is about how about any actual projects that we will do in the class, and do we get individual feedback on that? And a second question from that same person is, do you cover Agile? So I want to talk about both of those. So yeah, so your workbook does not have to be like special projects. It's not something that we give you to do. You do your actual project work. Now, that being said, for the purposes of the class, we ask you to submit like one business process, one workflow diagram, one updated process, right? It's like one thing. You might be doing 10 business processes for your actual work. You get to submit and receive feedback on one of those as part of sending your workbook in. So we actually encourage you to use your actual projects, and we only give you alternatives if like you don't have actual BA work to do, then we help you find those alternatives. And often it's still, we're going to do our best job to dial you back into finding an opportunity in your current role, even if it feels like you're like, no, there's no possibility. Like, we'll talk through it and there's a lot of examples, but we're going to help you apply it in your current position. And the reason we do that is because for those of you who aren't business analysts yet and want to become business analysts, it's by doing the work in your current position that you create the ripple effect. So Wendy, who, if you listen to the free training, you know, if you listen to her story, she analyzed a business process for her software development team. And that was the first step to having a business analyst role created for her. Similar with Adam, like he analyzed business process and did some use cases in his customer service work and kind of beyond his customer service work. And then that led to him being able to have that experience that led to his business analyst role. Okay, so even if you're not in a business analyst role, we'll help you figure that out. And then, do you cover Agile? So we cover core business analysis skills that are relevant in Waterfall, they're relevant in Iterative, they're relevant in Agile. We are adding to the software requirements level, and this is the piece that was missing on the blueprint because I used the old image. We're adding a section there on user stories. And because it's a communicate, and we're adding it under communication techniques. I actually don't think user stories are an analysis technique. They are a way of communicating the requirements that we analyze, and that we really do need to be aware of as business analysts in an agile environment. So we're adding a whole lesson in templates and work samples and everything around that to that module. And then in the bonus BA Essentials Masterclass that you get with the course, that bonus has also, we talk about how do you apply the business analysis process in Agile. So it's not an Agile course and it's not an Agile BA course, but it's definitely, we link the core skills, the core business analysis skills that you learn in the blueprint to Agile and give you some information on how to do that. So great questions. Thank you.
And Laura, Patricia wanted to know if she's unemployed, and so if she doesn't have a work scenario to use.
Yeah. So we do provide options for, like, you can apply business process work like at home. You can analyze software you use as an end user. So you would still be able to complete the course. A lot of times, another option to be thinking about is there an organization that you would love to volunteer for? Because I really think, like, nonprofits, like, they need this kind of work too. So I always like to plant that seed. Like, is there a nonprofit that you're like, hey, can I help you analyze a business process? And maybe you've got a piece of software that's not working quite the way you'd like. Like, we could model that in a use case and I can help you figure out what you want to have fixed. So that would be a way to get real valid work experience that you can add to the work experience section of your resume. But if that is not feasible, there's ways to apply the techniques in your personal life using personal examples. So you'll still be able to successfully complete the course, but the most that we can, like, drive back to helping an organization do it, you just get more out of the opportunity and tend to create, amplify the benefits, but you definitely can complete the course no matter what. Okay. And Kavita asks, professional certification require work experience and the professional credits, correct? Yes, so they do. That work experience has to be aligned to the business analysis body of knowledge, or the body of knowledge covered by that certification. It does not have to be under the title. So that's how I said, like, 10% of my QA role was actually, I could qualify that as business analysis experience, because I aligned it to some of the tasks. An example was user acceptance testing. I facilitated user acceptance testing, which was actually a lot of discovery with business stakeholders about their processes. And I also developed a brand new test process. So the work I was doing, I was creating the process for doing that work, and that counted as business analysis experience. Okay. All right. Lavina said, in Calgary, the current trend is to request certification in job postings, either as mandatory or nice to have. I think we're seeing more of that for sure. So thank you for sharing that.
Laura, real quick, I received an email, so it's not here, but somebody said that they cannot see the chat box. So just a reminder, you can use the questions box to send in your questions and answers.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, questions box. I'll remember that. I must leave this saying. It shows up at the chat box on my screen. Okay. Do you have knowledge trainings to improve your knowledge on BA? I don't want to write the exam. Grace, thank you for this question. So the blueprint is not an exam prep course. This is the Business Analyst Blueprint is a training to improve your knowledge of business analysis. In addition, when you successfully complete the course, you have the credits that you need to apply for certification. Okay, but that does not mean you have to write the exam. So yes, and this is it. Okay. Lavina also says CBAP is still the major being requested. Awesome. What time will the webinars be in IST? Achina, I'm sorry, I have no idea. We are so this one is, we're at 1 p.m. Eastern. I think we're doing a couple hours earlier than this, and we're doing an hour or two later than this. So you'll have at least 4 that will be within 2 hours of when we're meeting today, and then some that will be like in the evening, so like 6 hours from when we're doing this one. And so whatever that equates in your time zone. Okay. For experienced investment banking operations staff, someone starting fresh in a BA role in the UK, what's the best BA certification to work towards? I'm going to address that in a minute. Well, let's see, globally recognized BA certification specific to banking. One thing in the UK you might also want to look at is the ISEB, the ISEB, but we're still seeing even CBAP take a lot of ground in the UK. So you want to look at the job descriptions and the employers and see what they're asking for and use that as a guide. Okay. Diana asks, how many instructors are supporting the class? How is feedback given? Great question. So right now we have myself and 3 instructors supporting the class. I actually have at least 1 person lined up depending on what and how enrollment goes. And I would say like every 3 or 4 months, I receive an email from somebody wanting to be an instructor. So we will have as many instructors as we need to support everyone. We've been in this process before and kind of know exactly how that workload tends to play out. And I'm very, very cognizant of making sure we have enough support to make sure everybody gets what they need from the course. And feedback is given through email and through those workbook reviews. So those are your 2 primary ways. The other thing I want to mention, which I didn't talk about in the program review, because it's a new piece we've added this year, is we're adding an online community to the course as well. And that will not be where instructor support is, because that we still want to keep very individualized and personalized, but it does give you an extra opportunity to throw challenges out to get feedback from your peers or to kind of see what other people are doing as well. So there'll be yet another way to get that input if you need it. Okay, I think we answered the question on unemployed. Let's see, how are we doing on time? Marcy, if you can chime in at like 10 minutes too to make sure I kind of give some closing thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then I'll just keep kind of going through questions until then. Okay. Had to join in the middle. How long is the course duration? So yeah, no problem. The course will start next Wednesday and it goes through, you'll receive new materials through the end of April and you have through June 9th to meet all the requirements and email our instructors and send in your workbooks for review. So, and you're just receiving like a small piece every week and it's stuff that you can do on your own schedule. So it's very flexible in terms of how you integrate it into your own timeline. Natalia, I like this question. Can anyone become a BA? I'm very confused about my capability. I worked at operation before and now I want to move to BA. Great question. Like, can anyone become a BA? I don't think there's anything that would tell me like, no, you can't become a BA. Like, I don't believe that. I'm a growth mindset type of person. Like, of course you can, but you have to want it, right? You have to actually feel like when I talked about the blueprint and the kinds of things that you would be doing, was that energizing to you? When I talked about the manifesto, like creating positive change in the organizations we serve, like, is that motivating to you? Do you want to create positive change? Do you want to solve tricky business problems? Do you want to, have this mix of communicating with your stakeholders and doing detailed analytical work? Like, is that a fit for you? So that's my answer to that. And also, this would be a great, Marcy, if you can share that 42 reasons post with Matali and maybe in the chat box as well for everyone else. So I've got 42 reasons to be a business analyst. And it's a great litmus test, not to be like, yes, you have to do this, but like, is it a good fit for you? And that would just, take a look at that and see if that resonates and be able to make your decision, yes or no. See, Andra says, I'm currently looking to do the same. I'm currently interviewing for an HCM consultant position that appears to utilize BA techniques that would be vital to your success. Your thoughts? I'm not sure if this is your thoughts on whether the blueprint would be helpful or your thoughts on the interview. We're really focusing on the blueprint for this particular webinar, so I'll speak to that. Yeah, I think any position where you are utilizing some of the business analysis techniques, if you see yourself benefiting or your organization benefiting from the skills and that complete process we talked about in the blueprint, then the blueprint will help you, give you the templates and the tools and the teaching and the practice and the instructor feedback around that. So it could be a good match to that. And if they're vital to that success, then, and if that's something that you feel like you want that extra boost of confidence in, then this could really be a good path for you to have a program at your disposal that's going to help you walk through those as you start that new position. Okay, so I'm afraid if I join as a BA and will be on my own to design a process, will I be able to, starting from eliciting to the right requirements, documenting those, and giving walkthrough to a technical team? Can a new person do that? We just like sit with that for a minute. Yeah, so I mean, I feel that because there's a lot of overwhelm when you're first getting started in a new position, right? A new role, new responsibilities that you haven't done before, stakeholder engagement. One thing is that you are not alone, right? So you are leading the process, but your stakeholders are giving the information. And so whether, Vitaly, if this is something you're saying, yep, this is the career I want to go down, but I'm just kind of scared about how do I actually take that step? Like, find yourself a program or a set of tools or a mentor that can walk you through how to do it. And that can be your support system from the beginning. Okay, so if this is really the right thing, then find that resource, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's our program or not. I'd love it to be our program, of course, but you know, if it's not the right thing and you're saying, well, no, I need something more, or I want, you know, one-on-one, or I want a different methodology, then, you know, just find, you just want something that's going to be a resource for you so that you're not in it alone, and that you're using some tested processes and informal structures, and you're not making it up as you go along. Okay.
Laura, we're at 10 till now.
Okay, so we have lots more questions. I'm going to stay on to answer all the questions as long as I need to. As more come in, if it goes on too long, I might have to take a quick bathroom break. But I wanted to just be, for those of you who might have to leave at the top of the hour, or you know, yeah, for those of you who might have to leave at the top of the hour, I wanted to make sure to share a few closing words and do a third book giveaway. And so just wanted to pop into that now. And I know I needed about 10 minutes to do it. So thank you, Marcy. So here's what I have to say. You know, I realize that when it comes to the blueprint, it might feel like this is a big investment right now. Maybe it's a big investment of time, or a big investment in money, right? Or you might even resent the fact that your employer is not covering this for you. And for all of these reasons, maybe it would be better to wait until next year or the year after that, when you have more time or more money or more experience, right? But the real question is, for you, and I mean, really dial into this, what will things look like if you choose not to do this right now? Could be totally the right decision, you know, but maybe it's not. Like, is your work, I was in this space that Adam was in, which is why it brings so much emotion. You can probably hear that in my voice, where my work was silently killing me. It was when I was an associate editor, right? And it was not okay. It was not okay. And so, like, you know, that you got to take a step to get out of that, you know? So what happens if you don't? Or what happens if, you know, you really don't feel like you know what to do, how to do your job with confidence? What happens then? Or you don't turn your current role into a business analyst opportunity, you know, or perhaps you're already there, but you're in that blinded view. And so you're missing kind of those big project issues, right? So I just want you to look forward a year from now, maybe 5 or 10 years from now, if you can get there. And what do you want to see? What will you be glad that the you today did for you? And, you know, to once and for all, really feel confident in your skills and abilities, okay? So I want you to be so freaking grateful for the decision you made to invest in yourself this year, whatever that investment looks like, and that you are like so far beyond that now, right? When you look back 5, 10 years from now, like, oh my gosh, because you deserve that. And I hope the blueprint is part of that path. I developed it because it's my best work to help you down that path. And I would love to have you join us, okay? Because there's a reason that you're on this webinar with me today. When you join the Blueprint and participate and do the work, you're going to find that confidence, and you're going to find that joy in your work, and you're going to create opportunities that you aren't even dreaming of right now, even though they're right there in front of you. And maybe most importantly, you'll know that you made the most of the opportunity you have right now to jumpstart your career and be the business analyst you know you are. So there's one more thing I really want to address here, because there is like so much uncertainty in the world right now, and I would be really remiss to think that that's not on anybody else's mind, right? Like there's crazy stuff happening in the world. But remember, we're business analysts. We create order out of chaos, and we create clarity out of ambiguity. And the world we are in needs us today. It needs you more than ever. So in uncertain times, there is, to me, one thing that is always certain, and that's that the people who are not expanding their skills are actually falling behind. And so making a choice to constrain yourself in your growth, it's not a path to security, okay? It's definitely not a path to a promotion or to an opportunity or to finding the joy in using your innate gifts. So where do you want to be when all the dust settles? I want you to be ahead, and I want you to be recognized for your skills, and I want you to be secure knowing that you will always have another opportunity to pursue. Okay, that starts today with taking action, and that action might feel a little scary, but it's going to be really fun. Like, if you like business analysis, we're going to do a lot of business analysis together, and it's really fun, okay, if it's your thing. So I hope you'll join us. Marcy's going to leave the link in the chat box. You know, I promise we're here for you. This is what we do, and I'm so excited to have you join us because I want to be there for you and be your guide through to the other side. Okay, so we've been hearing a lot of questions around 2 topics, and I had this seed like yesterday of some things I wanted to add to the blueprint, and I literally like today or yesterday kind of sat down and wrote out what they might be, but I was not sure if I was going to add them. I was going to decide like on the call today. So we're going to add 2 bonus workshops because these are the questions that have come up, and I just really want to make sure that these objections do not stand in your way. So the first is going to be a certification planning workshop. We've been getting a lot of questions about like what certification is right for me. How do I approach that? What do I do next with that? It's coming up in job descriptions. What do I do? Okay, so I mentioned the blueprint is not a certification prep course. It does give you the credits you need to apply for any one of those certifications. So in this workshop, what we'll do is we'll walk through what all those certification options are, like all the mumbo, like all the letters and acronyms that I spouted out there, how to leverage your credits for the blueprint to pursue them, and what your next steps should be. Okay, so you'll have a plan to go after that certification if you want it. The second bonus, and this one is really exciting, is a resume building workshop. So we'll walk you through exactly how you take what you did and learn in the blueprint and use it to make updates to your resume or your CV. And this is so you can land more job interviews, but really it's about talking about your skills and your experience with more confidence. So even if you aren't looking for a job, this kind of internal work really is going to help you figure out how to position yourself for internal promotions and project assignments. Okay, so we're not going to offer these bonuses as separate courses. They are going to be specific to people who join the blueprint and get started with us on the 31st. And they'll be included. There's not going to be an extra cost for them or anything like that. So that takes us pretty close to the top of the hour. That was my from the heart. Like, I hope you can join us. I'm so excited to have you here. With that, let's do another raffle. So what year was Bridging the Gap founded? No, Marcy, I'll let you look for the answer again.
All right. Oh, it looks like we have a few right answers and a couple close. Let's see. The first person with the correct answer looks like Perry McGuire.
Perry, congratulations.
So the correct answer is 2008.
Yeah, we celebrate our 10-year anniversary this September. I can't believe it. Marcy and I have been working together for it'll be 9 years this fall, right? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think so.
Fast. Yeah. So yeah, we've been doing this a long time. So you're in the right spot. Okay. So let me see what questions. Nadia asked if major differences between BA certifications between IIBA and PMI. So we'll talk about that more in the workshop. And IIBA is focused just on business analysis and looks at business analysis beyond the project. PMI is looking at business analysis through the lens of a project. And that's really the main differences from a methodology and a body of knowledge perspective. But the real difference, which one's going to be more marketable in your area. And so if you have a lot of PMPs, sometimes, they're going to be more aware of the new PMI certification for BAs. Okay. I live in the UK. Can you serve as a reference in case we need one? Hey, Michelle. We have, I don't know that we've ever done that. So your certificate of completion will be valid. And we could definitely talk about what that might look like. But if you ever needed somebody to validate your training, for sure. Yeah. If it's something more than that, we'll think about it and see what we can do for you. Okay. Okay, Nimu, does the training count towards the work experience? And I would be able to put those experiences on my resume. Yeah, so yes, when you do the work, when you do the application of the course materials, and you do that in a work setting or a volunteer setting, then you have something you can put on your resume, for sure. And what I don't think works is like if you go and analyze, your business process at home, and don't take this into a professional setting. You don't have to be getting paid for it, but just in a setting that's like in an organization that exists outside your home, I think it's just going to look a little wonky on your resume. But if you find a way to apply it, whether in your current role or in a volunteer role, then you definitely have recent work experience that you can put on your resume. Okay, great question. Okay. I'm interested in the course. I'm currently unemployed. Would love an opportunity to pay on installment. There's a payment plan for 4 payments of $597. Okay. Let's see. What about the holidays? I'm planning to be on holiday looks like for about 2 weeks. So yeah, Perry, that can, you'll be able to download the materials. I'm just looking at where, sorry, I'm in the US, right? So those dates are just like screwing with my head. So you'll actually be, one of those weeks is a break week, December or February 17th. So one thing I didn't share is we give you content, and in between each module, there's a week of like catch up time. So one of those weeks for you would be a break week. And then one of those weeks there would be new content. So, if you're good with coming back from vacation and just a little bit of extra time to catch up when you get back, then you're good. And of course, there's that buffer time at the end as well. So there'll be plenty of time to catch up. Okay. Let's see. Chitan says, I'm currently a senior business analyst, but my role is extracting data on an ad hoc basis. Will you provide training from a basic level? So everything we teach in the blueprint is from, like, I would consider a basic level, entry level business analyst. So, and it sounds like you're doing data analysis. So you're on the side of the blueprint where you're analyzing the data and pulling it out. So you understand that information model, and now you want to step back. What is that software doing? How is your software creating that data? How is the business interacting with that data? And I worked once on a business intelligence project, and really interesting role because I got brought in after they implemented the business intelligence project, and they had all of this like really sophisticated reporting out of the database, but the data, they didn't know what it meant, and it often didn't even tell them what they needed to know because they didn't understand their business process and they weren't tracking key pieces of information in their software. So my role was like, they needed a report to tell them X. And I was the one stepping back from, okay, well, how are we going to get the software to make sure we're generating that information in the right way? And then how are we going to change our business process to make sure that we're tracking the right information in the software so that ultimately it's in the database, so that ultimately that business intelligence system that you spent gads of money on is telling you what you need it to tell you. So I'm guessing that backtracking could actually be a really interesting path for you to, and it's not backtracking, that's kind of, it's like source tracking almost, could actually be an interesting way for you to think about how you would apply some of the techniques we've talked about in your current role. And it's entry level. Now, that being said, we've had a lot of really experienced BAs take our course too, and if they find like it deepens their experience of these techniques, but there's nothing in here that's designed to like go, there's nothing in here that presumes you know something before you get started. So, okay. Let's see, after successful completion, can I just start my career as a BA entry level or mid-level? I've never worked for a BA or in IT before. So entry-level jobs, there tend to be a couple of organizations in every local area that hire and employ entry-level business analysts. So if that is your path, like look for those organizations and get started there. Now, you said you don't have IT experience, but do you have professional experience, like in a business domain, or yeah, it would be in a business domain then, right? So doing professional work in an office setting, and that, depending on the depth of the work and the complexity of that work, that plus the course, plus applying what you're learning, plus continuing to apply what you're learning after the course could lead you right into more of a mid-level role, okay? Okay, let's see. Funmi asks, second installment is to be paid when? So I'm assuming you're asking about the payment plan. It would be 4 payments every 30 days. Okay. Okay. And we don't give any additional discounts on the Blueprint. If you are one of our past course participants, you should have received an email from us. So past course participant, meaning you have invested in last year's Blueprint or you have invested in one of the components that we cover in the Blueprint, then you have the option of getting, we always appreciate our customers and we always honor that investment you've made in the past. So email us to get a specific on your situation. There's so many variations that I couldn't even speak to them all here, but that's the only case that we offer discounts on this. And it is actually already really heavily discounted. That's one of the reasons we're not doing additional ones. So when we launch this for next year, or if we get an on-demand version available later this year, it will be at the 2,997 point, which is more comparable with similar programs in the industry, quite honestly, and better represents the value of everything that you're getting. But I wanted to make it available one more time at our introductory pricing, since this is the second time we've run this, to make sure that people that didn't join last year for that reason thought it would be available again, had a chance to do that. Okay. Oh, Sarah says, thanks for taking the time to share your experiences. Thank you. You're welcome. And Anne says, those 2 additions sound amazing. I'm glad. I'm so excited. Okay. Okay. Is this the BA training, the only BA training you offer, or is there an advanced training or a diploma BA training as well? This is what we offer, Michelle. Yeah. At other times, you can get the individual components of the training, but this is what we offer. Yeah.
Laura Perry had a question about what software is needed for the Blueprint.
Oh, great question. So all of our templates are in Word or Excel, and for there's visual models across some of the examples, and if you have Visio, let's see. Oh, do you need to use Visio, or will I need to use SmartDraw? So you can use anything you'd like. Quite honestly, if you have those, you're set. So for other people who might have this question though that don't, so we give you swipe files in Visio, and we walk you through Visio and how to use Gliffy. Gliffy has a free trial. It's an online tool that allows you to create models like you would in Visio without having to make the investment in Visio. Visio also has a 60-day free trial if you did want to use it for the course. But yeah, there's ways to do all of the models that we teach without having any tools other than Office. And you're just sending in those files as visual snapshots anyways. We ask you to just capture the picture into your workbook. So how you create them isn't as important to us as what that model has. Now, we've even gone as far as to like, we'll review hand drawings as long as they're clear, right? Because we're really teaching core skills. It's so important. Like, it's more important to me that you leave being able to put what's in a workflow diagram, like actually put it together, then you know how to do it in a tool, right? It's the concept that's so important. The tools are easy to learn for the most part. Like, sometimes there's a little quirkiness, but the tools are easy to learn. I do demo Visio in the videos now because that's just such an industry standard, and I think it's important for people to know about, but you do not have to use that to complete the course. Okay, let's see. All right, can you share the course schedule or module for each week if possible? It's pretty much what's on the registration page, like broken out week by week. So, and Marcy said she'll share it with you via email, but I wouldn't let that be a barrier, okay? So we're gonna cover everything that's on the page, all the things that we talked about here, and it's gonna be week by week, and you'll be able to catch up if you need to. So, I think sometimes as analysts, right, we can kind of be like, oh, I need to figure out this piece and this piece and this piece and see how it's all going to fit together. Like, we're going to share it week by week, and you'll get the piece as you get the piece, and we're going to cover everything that we've said we're going to cover. So, yeah, I wouldn't let that be a barrier for you. Okay. Yes. Okay. Software is needed. Which version of Word and Excel? We usually backdate them so that they're not like, it's not like the most recent version. I don't know the specific version. Maybe Marcy would be able to get that for us. But I know we like save them as an earlier version so that it's applicable to as many versions as possible. And if that ever became a challenge, this is a question from Sarah, like if we've saved different formats and made sure that people have access to things. So if that ever caused a technical challenge, we would make sure to address that, because those things can change, and we'd make sure to figure that out and get you something you can use. Okay. Anthony says, is there an online register of companies that you know of that look to take on BA volunteers? Oh, Anthony, I love that idea. It's actually something it's been on my mind to build, but I don't know something off the top of my head. No, there's one that, if I think of that, can you drop us your email? Because I feel like there's one that has come across, but it's not coming to me right now. And let's see. If you don't have Visio, what was the other thing you said was the same? Glyphy is the tool. And it's not the same as Visio, but it's an alternative to Visio that allows you to create formal looking diagrams. Okay. And Anthony, volunteer with the UK IABA is a great way to get started. So you said you filled in a form to volunteer with the IABA UK, but no response. Okay, so that's a great option. Go to a meeting, see if you can meet somebody, and sometimes when they have a face and a voice, like that's the next step. Look around maybe outside of IABA and other nonprofits in your area, small businesses in your area, and just kind of reach out to one person a while back, like just emailed everybody in her LinkedIn network and said, here, I'm doing this course, or I want some experience in this, and I'm willing to volunteer this. And she had like 3 people get back to her, and one of those turned into a job opportunity. Like that one email of just like, how can I help you? And here's what I'm willing to offer, really created a really good opportunity. Okay. No, we do not accept Bitcoin. Sorry, Barry. Okay. And Patricia's asking about the payment plan. So yeah, that it comes to more than the $19.97. Yes, so there is a significant savings for investing in the full pay upfront, and that's because there is additional administration that comes with that payment plan. And there's also liability that I'm taking on, that we're taking on as a business in terms of default payments and things like that. And so that additional cost is to cover those costs. Okay, and honestly, just to incentivize you to like make the commitment in yourself and go for it. So there's reasons behind that, and I know it seems what it is. Okay. Beverly says, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate the information and your time. Okay, I think we're running through questions, so we're going to do our last. Who's been paying attention? How many credits are there in the Business Analyst Blueprint? All right, we're going to give the first 3 on this one. Marcy.
Okay, first 3. So it looks like Anne, Beverly, and if I mangle this, I'm sorry, Chitan.
All right, all 3 of you, let us know your address, please.
Yes, you can either put it in the questions box or you can send an email. Either way.
And that was an easy one, I guess.
Yeah,
so
those came flying in fast.
Yeah, it did. It really did. I wasn't sure how to frame this. Is the first time we've done this, so maybe next time I'll have to make them a little harder. But it was fun, and I appreciate that. And the reason it's 36 is that is the number. 35 is the number you need to apply for the CBAP and for the PMP and for the PMI PBA. So that's why, right? So that's why that number could be important to you, because then you know you have one program that gives you everything you need for that. Okay. Anthony says, who won? You lost sound. It was Anne, Beverly, and Chitan. Congratulations. Okay. All right, so I don't see any other questions. We will get a replay out of this. It'll go out via email later today. Sometimes it takes GoToWebinar a little bit of time to get that ready. And thank you for being here. And I just cannot wait to see what you create this year and the success that you have in your career. And I hope that you choose to take this step with us in the blueprint. I'm super excited about getting started if that hasn't come through. So thanks for being here, and thanks for being part of Bridging the Gap. Anne says she's registering this weekend. Woohoo! Thanks, Anne. We can't wait to have you join and get you started. Thank you. We'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.